Freedom Island. Well, I'm in Detroit. I'm alive, so points for that. I'm in Vivian's house. Vivian's the lady from NA meetings that told me that she had a place up here, and I had not told her about how I was coming up to see what Uncle Boyce and his revolutionary, nutty people are trying to do. I didn't tell her anything about any of that, of course. But I did tell her that I was looking to get out of my brother's house, which is really my parents' house, but he's the one with his name on the deed. And that I wanted to get away from some of the life that has got me into trouble in the past and make a new start and so on. And she could understand that, and that was pretty true. Even if the Uncle Boyce situation hadn't come around, I had been thinking that I had some idea that family could stick together, and that in a world that's kind of scary and kind of, you don't know what's going to happen, uncertain, I guess that's the right word. I had some idea that family would be the people you could count on. And I did have suspicions about Lauren, and she turned out to be okay, but my brother, I can't tell how dangerous he is or how crazy he is or how much of a true believer he is in these race ideas about the white people being the natural rulers of the world and so on and so forth, but I can't have nothing to do with that. Plus, just generally, he's always had a way where he don't have to pitch a fit to get his way, because he has a history of pitching a fit. And so most of the time we just go along with him. What does he want? Because we remember some of the fits he's pitched in the past, and nobody wants to see what could happen if he has had a couple beers and then he is in a mood. It's not so much that he hurt somebody's body, or at least not on purpose, but he can make an awful mess. You know, turning the recliner over. One time he turned the lazy boy over. He was mad about something, I can't remember, and the lever never did work right after that. Like, when you know, the little lever that you put the part that you put your feet on, you know, you're supposed to just push that lever and it's supposed to come up and hold up your feet. And after he turned that chair over and we set it upright and everything, it still did go up, but you had to kind of help it along. Like you'd push the lever and you had to take like your shoe and put the toe of it up underneath there. I think he bent like the metal piece that lifts it up or something, and maybe it got kind of stove up under there. You know, went up part of the way and then got stuck. Like, you'd have to take your shoe, slipper, whatever you had on, and push it up a little, nudge it a little bit, and then it'd go the rest of the way. And then it would kind of lock up on you. You're supposed to be able to just push it down gentle, but you just have to take your heel of your foot and kind of push it back down again. But then we all just got in the habit of just leaving it up and kind of jumping over onto the chair, you know. So that kind of stuff could happen. And plus, you just didn't want to put up with it. Like, if he was sulky, he wouldn't answer you. So, like, if he was parked behind you and you need to get out to go to work or something, go to school, whatever you had to do, and then if you was going to ask him to move his truck, he'd act like he couldn't hear you. You know, just stuff like that. Nobody wants to fool with it. So, anyways, my point is that I told her, Vivian, the lady from NA meetings, that I wanted to get away, start over someplace else. And she had the keys to this house, and she told me this complicated thing about that she had leased it to this guy, and him and his girlfriend had lived there, and then she thought the girlfriend had moved out, and then he had moved out, but that he'd come over now and again to look at the place to make sure it wasn't tore up too bad and to let people know there was somebody keeping an eye on it. So, you know, He'd turn on a light here and there and run the water some and check the doors and the windows to see if they was locked and cut the grass and stuff like that to make it not look too abandoned-like. And I think the trouble was she couldn't be there, up in there, to screen or decide on people herself, and for some reason she didn't feel like she could trust him, or if not trust him, she just didn't want to rely on him, I guess, to put somebody in there. She said she'd rather have it empty than have somebody in there that then she'd have to try to turn them out. And since she's not from there anymore, and the long list, like she said, every third rental, somebody's living in it that's supposed to be evicted. But the eviction process wasn't good before COVID. Now it's horrible. It's all backed up. So somebody could be living in your apartment or your trailer or your house or whatever you got. They're not paying the bills. They could be tearing up the house or whatever. And you can tell the sheriff or police or whatever you got there that you want them put out. And they do go over and they put a paper on the door saying you got so long to get out. But then that's all that happens. They just tell them to get out, and they don't get out. And then if they was paying anything, they stop paying because now they're evicted. So then they live there for free. And then she is scared of somebody that might have a gun or might be high on drugs or something being in there. So if she would go over or send somebody she knew over to try to see what was going on, and what if the person shot through the door, or the other thing is that the person that's in the house, they might not be paying their rental like they're supposed to be paying you, but maybe they keep their lights on and the water on and pay their utilities and so on, and they keep that house occupied, but they're scared of the people that's out roaming the street that don't have, they're living in their car or living nowhere, and they are scared of drug dealers and drug users and whatnot, crazy people. Because when Detroit, when all the factories and everything went away, I gather that everybody who could get out did get out. And the ones that was left is the ones that wanted out, but they didn't have no way to get out. You know what it reminded me of is when that Hurricane Katrina came, and people said, well, why didn't people leave? And I was like, their car ain't very good. If they even have a car, it don't drive good. They didn't have money to put gas in it. Gas station gas was used up. They didn't have room for their stuff in their car. It wasn't, a big car, and they wanted to guard and take care of their stuff. I mean, they had a million reasons why. Or they didn't have nowhere to go. If a person doesn't have a credit card or something, and they don't have, but, maybe in their wallet they've got a food stamp card or they've got $14, you can't use that to stay anywhere. Like with somebody you don't even know, so they had to stay. So that's what happened in Detroit, I think. And then maybe people who got stuck staying here, maybe they were okay, It kind of reminds me of that TV show The Walking Dead. And it's it's not in Detroit, it's set in Atlanta. But you can see the start of when the zombies come. And everybody's kind of more normal, freaked out, scared, confused, not feeling like they know what to do, don't know where the other people are, don't know how to solve problems, don't know if they should stay or go, but they're still sort of normal people. And then as you see each of the episodes and the seasons goes by, there's people that become like a religious fanatic, or they get their own magical religion that they thought up in their head. They've got people that's just out and out, just murderer and just thief and cruel. You got people that's got explanation in their mind for what's happening. people that's got magical beliefs about, not magical beliefs, but like unrealistic. You got people that's got unrealistic ideas about, like, well, you should go to a big city, or you should go way out in the country, or you should go up on a mountain, or you should go down the bottom of a coal mine, or you should go by a river, or you should get away from the water, or whatever. You know, they got a theory, like, they got groups of people that seem like to stick together, but then some of them, are they really friends, or are they there, they got a plot to get all the money and food and cars and whatnot and take off with them, you know? It deteriorates because for everybody to remember how to act like with each other, there's things like work and school and going to get a hamburger at the hamburger drive-thru and go to the little convenience store and go in and get you juice or whatever you got to get. If you live in the retirement community or in the fixed income housing or whatever, maybe you go out and smoke a cigarette or a special cigarette or whatever with somebody in your building, and you talk about things. You go out and wait for the bus to go to work. There's all these like structures, like, and I think it helps put people's mind right. They remember how to talk. They remember how to act. You know what it reminds me of again is not just Walking Dead, but like what all this COVID, when we couldn't go nowhere and we couldn't see anybody and we couldn't do nothing. And it felt like to me when the library opened up back in, and when you could go back to Walmart's or wherever you was used to going, I couldn't remember how to talk. I used to just, when I started going to Walmart's again and putting my mask on and go back where people was again, I would just get me 2 or 3 little things. I used to like get my groceries there. You could get a good deal, you know, the price drop and all that. I liked to shop there, but I didn't load my cart up anymore because just dealing with being across from the checker out person started to make me nervous. So I'd run in there, and my brother would comment on it, and I said, well, if you want me to get more, you come with me, and we'll put it in the back of the truck. We could go down to Sam's Club or something and load up. But of course, he don't want to go. He wants me to do it. But I would sometimes just come home with like some Pepsi and taco mix and just a few things. And I just said, there's only so much I can take. I can't. She's looking at me and I'm looking at her across the conveyor belt, and a couple or 3 bags worth, and that's all I can take for that day. I can't think of what to say, or even more worse, I start talking about the last time I was in there and I was talking to that cashier. It's because I was buying some food for my brother's dog, and then we start talking about dogs. And I started telling her about some dog I used to have. It's been dead 10 years. Telling her about that old dead dog that I used to have. And then I looked at her, and she had her polite face, but I could see there was somebody behind me that had a whole bunch of, they're like jumbling the stuff up in their hands they wanted to put down on the cart. And here I am talking about my dog that's been dead for years. And I thought, oh, Lord. So, obviously, I went around, I talked to people, I dealt with everybody, and then we get a couple years where we stay home to stay away from the germs and everything. And it took me a while to be able to just do a real basic thing without getting overwhelmed like. So you lose it quick, you know. One time I hurt my arm real bad, and I had to have surgery, and it was in a sling. It wasn't in a cast, but it was in a sling like. And I had to do my exercises, but there was a ton of stuff I couldn't do with it, and I had to go to physical therapy and everything. And after that surgery, I couldn't use it for like 6 weeks, and then they started me on the physical therapy. After the surgery, I could use it a little bit with these little exercises, but I couldn't really do much with it for 6 weeks. And then I got to, start getting back to normal routine and stuff. And it's like my arm was like a floppy arm. It acted like it had never been used before. It was like it didn't quite just hang there, but to put my hand around the fork and lift the fork up and get some food in my mouth without spilling it down my shirt. It was hard. And I've been using my arm my whole life. 6 weeks, no arm. Try to use a fork again, couldn't do it. Lady would put the money in my hand at the cash register, and the coins would fall out of my hand because I couldn't turn it all the way over and so on. So it don't take very long, I guess, is what I'm saying, for everything to go to pieces. So you could see how in Detroit, with no jobs and no city services, and because there's nobody to pay it, nobody to pay the bills, nobody to do the jobs, you could see how the stores would go away. Everything goes away. It withers up like a plant, like a plant that don't get any water, and then the bottom leaf goes, and then the middle leaf goes, and then the top leaves start going, then the root dies, you know? You can see how it would fall apart. And then I think what's happened here is just it's left the people that's not able to get out, and then whatever state they were in when they got left behind, no structure like what I was talking about. They don't have regular things to keep them normalized and be with other people and know how. And now the people that's hiding in these houses not paying their rent are scared, sorta, although they're a little less scared because they don't feel like that anybody can evict them. But on the other hand, they're scared of the people that's out in the street. So what I'm saying is that if you have a property here and you got somebody living in it, are you going to go over there and tell them to get out or send somebody to get them out? Because they don't know why you came up to the door. They don't know you're a representative of the property owner. They don't have no clue who you are, maybe, or they don't recognize you, or they don't look through the door. And I'm sure that there must be people here that if somebody comes to the door and they don't have a key and they don't come right in, and you hear somebody out the front, there must be people that just shoots right through the door. They figure you shouldn't be there. What are you doing there? And you don't want to find out the hard way that's the situation. So I was trepidatious to come up here and come to this house. And I also didn't know how bad the neighborhood would be. Scary, or kind of scary, or not very scary. Like what I call the most scariest one is when dogs is running loose. So I don't really understand how to do Uber. You know, this lady suggested I take Uber and come over, but I don't know how to get an Uber. And if they were taking me the wrong place, I wouldn't even know what it was supposed to look like or whatever. So I got a city bus from the bus station where I got off the Greyhound, and it was hard because it was all confusing about which bus did I need to take, what route did I need to take, which ones were the buses that went in the city and which ones went on the highway to go to somewhere else, and so on and so forth. But finally there was somebody who was working there at the bus station, and she felt sorry for me. She was sitting on a bench, she's tired out looking black lady that was just looking like she had just got off work, and I had this feeling she was supposed to go home and like cook dinner and help her kids with their homework and stuff, and she didn't want to go. Like, which I think it says something about your house if it's even worse than the bus station. But she kind of looked like she was sitting on the bench, like she knew she ought to, you know, take her own bus and go home or drive her car or however she was going to get home. But she looked like she didn't want to go, and she saw me go back and forth about 3 or 4 times, and then she said, you know, where are you trying to go, hon? And I told her, and then she put me on the right bus, and that was good. And then I decided I would take the bus, which I did, past this house, and I would just look and see. And the main thing that scares me, like I was saying, is dogs. If there's dogs that's loose and they run around in like packs, maybe somebody didn't even mean for them to get into a pack, but they let them just run, you know, and they figure somebody else will feed them, or they just throw some food out the door, or whatever they do. They don't really take care of them, and they don't chain them up, and they don't fence them, or they do, but the fence is tore up, or the dog pulls free, or somebody let the door open and let the dog out, or whatever. That scares me to death more than people, is dogs running loose, and then, they'll come after somebody. They'll get like a territorial thing inside of them and decide you ought not to be up there wherever you're going, and you step over a certain line that they've got in their little dog mind, but you don't have any way of knowing you're not supposed to step by that dog's point of view 1 inch off the sidewalk or something like that. And I've known somebody that got bit bad on the back of her leg up near Sit-a-Pon, up in that area. She was trying to turn and get away, and that dog just jumped up and buried its teeth in her, and it got infected. Oh, I just don't even want to talk about it. She got well eventually, but it was scary, and it hurt. It's just a mess, and I'm scared of that. And then the second thing is I just don't want somebody to knock me in the head. I don't got nothing to take, really, but they could take my little notebook computer, my smartphone, my wallet. Maybe they think I got something. Maybe they think I got drugs. Maybe they think I got something good. I don't got anything, but they might think I do. I got my karaoke microphone. Now that's valuable right there. So I didn't want to get bit by dogs, and I didn't want to get knocked in the head. So I decided to look and see how did it look out the bus window. And if it looked scary, I would just take the bus to the end of the line, or get off at a shopping center, go past it, go to a shopping center or something like that, do a little something, get back on the bus, go back to the bus station and get a new plan of some kind. But I didn't see dogs, and I didn't see people that looked like they wanted to knock me in the head. But what was almost more weirder is I didn't see anybody. It was like a ghost town. I seen houses, and I seen cars, and everything was not, you could tell it wasn't the end of the world. The cars wasn't all covered with dust, and, some of the grass was cut and some of it wasn't, but it didn't look much worse than what it usually looked. Definitely looked better than where some of the places we've lived when I was little and stuff. But you just didn't see nobody, and I thought, well, I don't know what that means. So I went ahead and got off the bus, and I knew there was 3 or 4 more that would come by before it was dark. So I thought, well, worst case is that it's just all weird, and I'll just, I'll have to wait about 45 minutes and then get another bus. Hopefully another one will come along the same way, and I'll just get back on and go back to the Greyhound station. But I decided to go ahead and get off, and then I came up the walkway, and there was some mail in the mailbox, but not like abandoned house full, just looked like a day or two's mail in the mailbox there. But then I got up, and the screen door was still on, so that was good. And it was shut and everything, so that looked all right. Screen didn't look too bad. And but then when I opened up the latch, and then I looked at the regular door on the inside, I thought, uh-oh. Because you could see where somebody had kicked in the door, took their foot, and raised it up the heel, and then just kick forward, and they kick it where the bolt is. And sometimes, depending on what kind of door it is, they can kick the bolt and the whole metal part right out of the door. And somebody had done that, but then somebody else had come along, and they had took a couple of sheets of flashing. That's really what you're supposed to have up on a roof, like if you need to patch. You got like a weak place in the wood under the shingles, or up around where the chimney is at and all that. You can buy some sheets of real thin metal, and you fasten those up on the roof, and you can just buy them in little handfuls like at the hardware store. Well, somebody had took some of those and kind of overlapped it, so it wasn't just one piece, but they had took 3 or 4 pieces of that flashing, and then used a screwdriver, like with a driver head, I think, on it, and just drove. It looked like kind of the way the metal was puckered up. I think they just had a drill driver, and they just didn't drill a hole first or nothing. They just took a pointed wood screw, and then they just put that metal up there, and then just drove it, bzz, 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 And then they went back and kind of like a suit of armor or something, and they kind of overlapped. So where the two pieces came together, they put another solid piece over it. And they had covered up and made the door more solid again behind there. And then I tried the key in the lock, but you could see where the wood was like splintered, like behind there. You could see where somebody had, they'd kind of concaved it in and then patched it up. But I thought, well, maybe the latch is, all right back there. The knob was there, and I put the key in, and the key turned. But then I thought, this has been, they've got some kind of bolt that they've shot behind this door. The knob turned, but it wouldn't let me in, and there wasn't no, where they'd kicked it is where they'd kicked the deadbolt. You take a key and turn the deadbolt back and forth. That was the part they had kicked out. And so that was gone. So there was knob lock, but it was solid, that door. So I thought somebody's bolted this on the inside. And I didn't know if my friend from NA even knew that happened or not. But so I thought, well, all right. I went around and I looked. The driveway was all cracked. It was supposed to be, poured asphalt, and grass had grown up, and it was all cracked, and chipping big pieces of asphalt was loose, kind of laying in little chunks around and everything. But I didn't see no sign of like a dog chain or a tore up fence or dog bowls or anything like that. So I did I had my stuff with me because, obviously I had to take my stuff with me everywhere I went, the stuff I brought with me on the bus. So I took that and in the movies where people used to take their hat off and put it in a stick and then they hang it around the corner, and, if there's a bullet or an arrow that went through it, then they knew it wasn't safe to put their head around. So I took my stuff and flung it around the side, the driveway side, to see would it, any dog go woo woo woo, that kind of roo 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 noise they make. That means I would like to eat your head, Didn't get no sound like that, so I thought, well, all right. And I come around and I thought, well, if it's a bad person or dog or whatever, I'll just throw my stuff at them. I had a bag on my shoulder that had my laptop, and the smartphone was in the back pocket of my jeans. So I thought, all right, I got my phone, got the computer, and my wallet's in my other pocket. So I thought, that's the worst of it. So if I have to take this bag and just throw it and run, then that's what I got to do. It wouldn't hurt him, but it would surprise him or whatever. So I was kind of holding it in front of me and then I came around